What's up, Texas Heat? I thought I'd give y'all a little quick spin, real quick, to how I see the playoffs, possibly, or getting to the playoffs, this playoff hunt that everybody's just working towards, and so many guys trying to get their games in and what it's going to look like. Man, shout out to just, man, all the games getting played, everybody being active. We lost a few guys, but unfortunately, felt those teams. I mean, the moment they dropped, and man, the playoffs are still something definitely everybody is chasing. So, just thought I'd give you guys a really quick snippet of what I see these next few weeks to look like. Just going to make sure everybody, of course, can see the show really quick. And, man, this is not going to take very long. I didn't want to make anything too long because, of course, we are going to do the playoff bracket show like I had mentioned in the past. And, man, this is going to be exciting. I'm just going to be honest. Like, I'm excited about watching the playoffs this year. I'm excited of just seeing, guys getting definitely ready for this next chapter in the first year of our league. It's amazing. It feels like we've been moving really fast, but it's actually been kind of slow. So, super excited, super amped about getting everybody, just seeing everybody getting these games in, giving everybody kind of a breakdown of what I see, what's happening so far in the league. And man, let me tell you, there's been some crazy outcomes in the league so far. There's been some crazy guys I didn't expect to win, guys I didn't even expect to be in this position right now, and being in a position to even compete as far as the playoffs are concerned, period. So, uh, definitely an interesting year so far. Kind of sucks that I'm not going to be in it because it's pretty competitive in the NFC, AFC as well. But just wanted to give you guys a really quick snippet of kind of how I've seen things happen. And so, man, if you guys just give me a second to make sure everybody can see the show and make sure everybody's connected to see the show. Hopefully my mic is working this time. I don't know what happened yesterday that I did to myself to put me in a position to where nobody could hear me. But hopefully today works out just fine. I'm pretty sure most of you guys are probably pretty set as far as playoffs in your mind and all those things, which is good. It's what we want. That's that's the desire, was to get to this point and for everybody to be pretty confident about where they sit. So, man, enjoy the show. This is going to go really quick, and hopefully I can get all the information in on where I see these playoffs sitting for everybody here this season. So I'm going to go straight to it. NFC. At top of NFC, I mean, it pretty much seems like it's going to be a lock. You got Packers, Eagles, and Rams. Looks like they've at least clinched a playoff berth. I believe Packers and Eagles have both at least clinched a home field advantage, which is definitely kudos to those guys. But really interesting on how Week 17 is going to impact who actually gets that bye week. So again, this is going to go pretty much straightforward from NFC all the way through AFC. But this is an interesting playoff race, but not only just for wild cards, not only just for the bye week, but even divisions. Because, you know, the reason I say this is because for a lot of these situations, even for the NFC, I think who guys have to play first is ultimately going to come down to the result of NFC and even the AFC, which is, man, AFC is so wild. I have tried. I took 30 minutes out of the day looking at the AFC and saying to myself, how am I going to break this down? And let me tell you, there are so many different things that can happen in the AFC for guys to get in. There's currently a game being played right now between the Chargers and Broncos that could really probably impact what I'm about to say on the radio show. So I don't know the outcome of that game yet. I do know they're playing right now, but that'll definitely be interesting. But man, the breakdown between how this is going to look for the playoffs, by far the hardest predictions that I even tried to make. Guys winning games I didn't expect. Like, again, I've been saying it all season. What the fuck is going on with Sean and those Chiefs? He's definitely impacted the AFC. I thought the Colts was going to somehow squeeze his way into the AFC. Took an unfortunate loss against the Steelers. I mean, it's so many things that have happened so far. But um, again, I'm going to try to make this short and sweet, so hopefully everybody will be able to listen to it and get a breakdown of kind of how I see it going forward. So there is there's a bunch of stuff that I could break down in regards to the NFC and AFC. The thing about the NFC, the first thing that I thought was automatically that the Eagles had a bye week. They don't, because if the Eagles technically, if the Eagles were to, the Eagles needs to beat Mike and that football team. He has to win that game, and then very similar to the Packers, he has a game against the Bears. I expect him to win, but in prior weeks, uh, the Eagles ran through the Isaiah-led Cardinals, and I believe he beat Colton as well. And he only has one major game left, and that's with the Redskins, who's pretty much taken he's claimed his spot as a wild card spot, which I think so. I think ultimately Eagles wins that game just because of the simple fact that he's not fighting for anything. I mean, win or lose, he's going to be in the playoffs. But with with one major game left against division rivals for both of these guys, I think uh, Brady most likely is going to take that bye week position, and Brady's um, most likely going to take over that bye week NFC spot, even if the Packers beats the Bears, which he most likely will. But just because he did beat him early off in the season, I do believe the Philly's going to get that bye week. I mean, unless Madden does something crazy, the way this is broke down, the way the structure is broke down so far, when you look at conference wins, you look at, I mean, they've beaten each. They both have similar records when it comes to division wins all the way through. Eagles did beat Packers. I expect Eagles to beat the Redskins, but he could lose. So I mean, there could be that possible change. Then of course, like I said, the Panthers also has a divisional game, which I also expect him to win. But when you get down to the next tier, Rams and Cardinals, both the Rams led with Rome and Isaiah, which I call him the lobby ball Cardinals because I feel like that's how he plays. They play Week 17. That's the final week of the season to claim that division. Most people would say, just looking at it, you'd probably just think, it's not a big deal. Both of them are getting to the playoffs. But when I give you how I think the playoffs bracket is going to be set for this season, this is why I think it's going to really be tough because of who everyone has to play first. Mike's going to be pissed when he hears the show, but I'm just going to say it. If I'm in the NFC playoffs right now, the one guy, or actually the two guys that I want to play first, are most definitely going to be the Panthers or Mike and the Redskins. Yes, he beat the Rams earlier in the season. Yes, he beat the Cardinals earlier in the season. But, I mean, that was before 10,000 Madden updates, and the gameplay is a little bit different. I don't think he beats either one of those guys come playoffs. But again, when we get to that playoff pick'ems that I was talking about um, after Week 17, it'll kind of address some of those things. But both of these guys both play the final week. Rams currently has 3 division wins, while the Cardinals holds 4. If the Rams wins this game, he would actually take the division because he beat Eagles and Cardinals lost to Eagles, and therefore because of players they have played based on conference wins, etc. He should most likely take the division, but I think the Cardinals wins this game. I don't think he beats them twice in a row. Despite the outcome, of course, both users will play each other in the wild card round, and so that's going to be probably one of the games I really want to see, is because seeing two guys that have played each other twice in a season and now have to play each other a third time. Once you get into those kind of games, there is nothing that you can do that I'm not aware of. Whether it's a guy playing man defense, whether you're trying to throw the ball all game, screens, whatever it is, that third time, like I'm never more ready for playing somebody the third time in a season. And so that's going to be a really interesting matchup. I think regardless of how the playoffs end, they both are going to play each other in the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see how this week 17 game plays out because ultimately the winner of this game doesn't really matter. It's just going to be a division championship, and then you're just going to see them literally come advance. So um, could that change? It's possible. It is possible that if I think the Cardinals, which just going to look at it real quick, I do think if the Cardinals were to lose this game, it's either the Cardinals, yeah. So yeah. So if the Cardinals lose this game, and being that him and the Vikings are both 3-3, which I expect the Vikings to win his last game, then it would switch and Rams would not play Cardinals. No, first breaking news: Corey did actually just beat the Broncos. So that's when I tell y'all that really just it stirs up the AFC so much, but the NFC for sure, which we'll get over to that side. The NFC, I think, pretty much is a lock. I mean, there's your top seven teams are right there. Nobody below that is going to get in. So, no matter what these guys do, I mean, what's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Yeah, yeah. So, oh, wait a minute. No, I got it right. Yep, yeah. So yeah, so you have your you have your top teams for the NFC. That's pretty much going to be a lock. But I think, despite the outcome of this game, I do think they both play each other in the playoffs. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm forgetting the Panthers with this terrible record leading his division at 7-7. I mean, he's been semi-trash all year. But I didn't even add him into my like breakdown because I knew he was in, just because that division has just been trash. But getting past those two guys playing, of course, getting to um, Kevin Freeman. I call him the Freedom Vikings because Kevin just, I mean, he's going to throw the ball literally everywhere. He's in the same situation similar to Washington where there's no incentive to win or lose their game. At the end of the day, I think they're pretty much locked in. I think the NFC is just a lock. It really just comes down to who they play first. What I My projection of the playoff breakdown for the NFC currently is I think Eagles will be one, Packers two, Cardinals, Panthers, and then of course Washington, Vikings, and Rams. Um, I say that only because I don't think the Rams will beat the Cardinals twice in a row. If he does win, then they just flip spots. But either way, it's either going to be Vikings at 7 and Rams at 6. One of those will switch. But either way, both Packers, the 2 and 3, will have a tough game to start the playoffs. I think the best position right now is really for the Panthers because he really gets either Mike with the Redskins and possibly Kevin with Kevin with the Vikings, and ultimately, I'm not saying that Kevin can't play. I'm not even saying that Mike can't play. I'm saying if I had to choose out of playing, Cardinals or Rams or Mike or even Kevin, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to take Mike and Kevin every single time. So that's pretty much NFC: Eagles, Packers, Cardinals, Panthers, Redskins, the Vikings, and the Rams. I think that's how it's going to play out. It's all just depends on how Madden just again does its bullshit when we get over to how they break down for playoffs. Because I don't know if you guys have even noticed this or not, but Madden does not break down playoffs the way they do in real life, and it's super annoying because I've seen so many times where two guys be 12-4 have the same division wins, and one guy has one more conference win than the other, and the guy that has the one conference win more than the other guy still ends up getting first place, and it just that's not technically how the real life breaks down. So it just be interesting, but that's how I think it's going to break down as far as the NFC. I don't even know where to start in the AFC because it's just so it's everywhere. The AFC literally everywhere. I mean, just I don't know how many times you guys have looked at this or not, but I think the Steelers are a lock. He's a lock for his division, so he's definitely in. I think he ultimately does get the bye week. His last game is against, I think, I think the Ravens or something like that. And I mean, his last game is a very winnable. Oh no, I take it back. His last game is against the Browns. His last game is against the Browns, and so with him playing against the Browns, I think most likely he will get a forced win just because the Browns has no incentive to play that game, which I hate that sometimes. I really wish guys would just play those games just for the fact of how it could impact the playoffs. But I do understand guys trying to hold on in regards to. Um, I do understand guys trying to just having no desire to play those games just for the fact of a draft pick, et cetera, et cetera. But let me tell you guys, this has been the most interesting conference this year compared to the NFC. The NFC to me has just been extremely top heavy. I said it in the beginning that I thought the guys that that are in the top right now would be there. The only teams, and this is only based on the fact that Octavius, unfortunately wasn't able to finish out. He's just whatever it is with Discord. He's just not interested. And then also having Allen Hossie not playing, two guys that would have been in the NFC. Um, I mean, this could look completely different. I mean, it's very possible that there are two or three teams that are, or at least two teams that are fighting for, or in those wild card spots, or fighting for those wild card spots. Wouldn't even exist as far as that opportunity, but it's still top heavy. I still think those guys are pretty good. But the AFC is been so back and forth. The AFC has so much going on. The the AFC can happen in so many different ways. The Raiders, I mean the Chargers just beat the Broncos, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just back out of this and come back in, because I thought that would have put him. Yep, yeah, he's 8-7 because he was 7-7 prior to this game. So I mean, this ruins my entire prediction breakdown that I had for the AFC. I didn't expect the Chargers to win this game. And so now that the Chargers has won this game, which it's also a division game, looking at this conference, look at the division wins and why I say this is interesting. Chargers has two division wins, Raiders 3, Chiefs 3, Broncos 2. Even though the Broncos is sitting 9-6, Chiefs 9-6, 8-7, 8-7, if the Raiders beats the Broncos next week, the Broncos is out of the playoffs. Chargers wins his game. If he wins out and the Raiders win out, and both of these guys at the top were to lose just because of division wins, and from what I've looked at of who they have had wins against, I doubt it's going to happen, but it could. I highly doubt it. But you could literally see Raiders and Chargers both being in the playoffs. Like, that's what's so wild about the Broncos losing that game, is because now him only having two division wins could, like, oh, and so thank you. And the Chargers just said he plays the Chiefs next week, so that's a huge game. If he plays when he plays Chiefs next week, if he wins that game and they're both 9-7, I mean it's going to be interesting as far as the breakdown. I haven't looked at entirely in regards to like the conference wins and those things entirely. Again, I didn't take a whole lot of time because, like, again, the AFC is completely nuts. I mean, this division. I mean, I'll probably have to get one of these guys to break it down and kind of go from it from their perspective. But um, I think Steelers are a lock. I mean, Bills plays the Dolphins. I don't. Bills plays Dolphins week 17. He could win that game, but I mean, he's playing Marcus, and it's kind of hard to say. But again, my story has been all season has been what the fuck is going on with the Chiefs. I have been running that hashtag for, like, I have no idea, like, I think like week 10 with the league, because the Chiefs, I mean, it only shows he has a 2-win streak right now, but I think he's won like seven of his past, or no, he's won five of his past seven games. So I mean, he's definitely could possibly slide into the playoffs. And I'm just going to tell you, that's going to be for me when I do the yearly awards at the end of the season. He's going to have to be the coach of the year for me if he makes the playoffs. Because who trades Mahomes on Madden for anybody with that team and still makes the playoffs? I mean, I gotta give it to you, Sean. That's going to be impressive if you get in. But again, like I said, the Raiders, Chargers, and Broncos, and Raiders, Chargers, Broncos, and Chiefs. I mean, that's going to be completely interesting. All fighting for that division, but or fighting for the playoffs. But just getting down to that breakdown. I mean, all of it's crazy. Um, this like again, like I said, the Steelers most likely will have a lock. The Dolphins game against the Bills will be interesting. The Texans game. The Texans play the I believe he plays the Titans for his last game. And again, another one of those situations. I think both guys are 3-3 and both have a loss. The Colts beat the Titans twice. So he would have I mean, it's not going to matter. They're both going to be 3-2, so you're going to have to look at similar games and see who pulls it out. But again, another situation where I think it's just going down to the division race and ultimately um, who pulls it out in the long haul. But I don't know. AFC has by far been the most annoying thing to look at because the the Bengals. I think the Bengals gets in. I think his last game is against the Ravens. He should win that game. So I'm gonna say that at least the Steelers and the Dolphins and Bengals are for sure in the playoffs. Texans has 10 wins, so it's hard for him really to not make the playoffs. Everybody from under the Bengals is a dogfight. Titans has to win. Broncos has to win. Chiefs has to win. The Bills just got a force against the Patriots guy. And Rome, yeah, you did. Rome actually, so you did. You said it a few times about watching out for the Chiefs. And I'll be honest with you, when he got Daniel Jones, I thought, well, I do not understand what this guy is doing. But hey, he's playing. He's somehow, some way, you remove the best quarterback on the game and have success. Like that's wild. But hey, kudos to Sean. But it's a dogfight, literally from the Chargers up to the Titans. And and I haven't really taken a whole lot of time to look at division wins and similar opponent games, but every single one of these games, all of these guys, Titans, Broncos, Chiefs, Bills, and Raiders, and Chargers, they're all fighting for the same exact spots. Except, I mean, ultimately it's the wild card spot. They are it's a complete race to a wild card spot for this division. And I got to tell you, when I made the playoff predictions earlier in the season, I really thought that I thought Steelers, I thought Texans, Dolphins, I thought Bengals would be in it, Titans would be in it, Broncos would be in it. That was my for sure. Like these are going to be the guys that make the cut. I did not see it in a position to where the Titans has to win this game. The Tristan has lost his last four games. I don't think Tristan has ever had a losing streak in our league past two games ever. And so just an interesting situation he has with those Broncos right now. And so I just wanted to give that breakdown. I'm still struggling on how to predict. I'm not gonna lie, still struggling a little about predicting the AFC um, as far as who I think will ultimately represent that division top to bottom. And it has everything to do with the fact that there's so much left to break down. But since we're on the show, this is exactly what I think is going to happen. Of course, I've already said Steelers. I don't think the Titans. I don't think the Texans beat the Titans twice. I'm just gonna give that respect to Ivan that I think he does pull this last game out. I mean, him and every time him and Dre, it's a dogfight. I don't know why their styles just mesh the way they do. You would actually think that Ivan would have that he would smack Dre because of his style, but I mean, for whatever it is, they have close games all the time. But I do think Steelers. I think just to the breakdown, Texans makes it, Dolphins makes it. Bengals is in just because his last game. I actually think the Titans Broncos make it. I don't think the Chiefs makes it. I actually think that the Chiefs will fall to the Chargers and somehow Noah beats Marcus. That's gonna stir up some shit. I already know it because I know Marcus is a dog on the game. I already know he's pissed about whatever happened between him and that game with Travis and the Raiders. And unfortunately, the Chargers is going to have a great season to finish out just based on opponents. And I think he misses out on the playoffs. But again, that's probably going to change once I post this in the chat. But I think it's going to be Steelers, Texans, Dolphins, Bengals, Titans, Broncos. I think the Chargers beat the Chiefs. And this is tough. That last spot is extremely tough because that can go. That's talk about games that can go either way. I mean, the Raiders did beat. If I'm gonna be honest, the Raiders he did beat Tristan earlier in the season. Travis did beat. I think the game was like 42-31 or something like that when I looked it up earlier. So I mean, he did win that game earlier in the season. And I mean, he's got 4 straight losses. I don't know what's going on with those Broncos. So it's very possible that this could end. We could see a guy that's been a Super Bowl caliber guy in the league fall out. And let me tell you, talking about rocking a, a playoff spot and what that's going to look like going into the playoffs. But AFC is just tough. It's tough. But Steelers, Texans, Dolphins, Bengals, Titans, I think these are your for sure teams in. But it's hard to say. I'm going to tell you, this is why I'm struggling with the AFC. The reason I'm struggling with the AFC is because the Broncos beat the Titans. So if the Titans loses to the Texans and the Broncos loses to and the Broncos loses his last game and they're fighting for that wild card spot, and I'm saying that as if the Chargers were to beat the Chiefs, you could potentially see the Broncos in, Titans out, and I can't believe it, but I think the Chargers or the Raiders would take that 7th spot. I mean, I don't know if this is probably going. This will probably be the most interesting advance that I feel like we have had on a playoff race going into the playoffs in a while because our league has never been. I don't think our league has ever been this close. I know there's guys listening at this current moment that could probably assess to that. I just don't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to look at the Excel sheet, but I can't remember it being this close going into the playoffs, especially in the AFC. Because typically the AFC is like, it's obvious. Like, you know who's going to make it in the AFC by like week 8. Where now they have added this 7th spot, and it creates a totally different dilemma as far as who gets in. So I'm going to post my playoff predictions in the chat. I do think that what I've communicated so far will happen. I know I'm hyping Noah up. I'll be honest, I don't think he beats. I don't think he beats Marcus with the Dolphins. But again, anything can happen on this Madden. I've seen it way too many times. I mean, again, I didn't expect Mike to beat Isaiah and Rome. That was you talk like shocking games for me looking at our league and kind of trying to do the rankings for player to player. Like, I didn't expect the Chiefs to be doing what he's doing this season. My player of the season, user of the season, has actually been Dre. He gets on my nerves. Y'all don't understand how much this man gets on my nerves. But let me tell you, the reason why he's been the player of the season for me is because I did not expect him to beat half of the guys he did this year. Half of the games he played, I expected an L. Half. And for whatever reason, he pulled them out. And so, definitely kudos to him for the season that he has had so far. And that would be my at least my AFC guy for sure. That has definitely been like a shocking season for me. Next to Sean is right next to that. I'm not putting him above it only because I've seen Sean go 8-8 10,000 times and just barely miss the playoffs. And then for the NFC, I mean, it's not a whole lot of shock because I expected Colton to be great. I mean, I expected Brady, I expected Rome, I expected Isaiah. Kevin has always somehow, some way, just kind of made the playoffs no matter what team he had. I'd probably say Mike. I'd probably say Mike just because of the fact that he's playing with those Reds. I guess let me rephrase, not the Redskins, that football team. Um, that's not an easy team to play with. You really got to have some skill to play with that team, and you really got to trust your offense. I mean, if you look at his points for and points against, you can tell that every game has come down to it's been neck and neck for him all season. I mean, he hasn't blown out a soul. I mean, 384 points for and points against, and so that would definitely be my most just kind of kudos to that guy for his season. And then, of course, the guys that didn't show up this year that I'm actually used to seeing them have better seasons would probably be Earl with the Lions. I mean, of course, myself, I've been trash. I took a ton of sim losses, but I expected Earl. I can't remember the last time Earl missed the playoffs in our league. Period. I mean, and I don't know why he's such a faithful Lion, but he just is. Um, I expected a better season out of Earl, and to be honest, I didn't expect Tristan to be fighting for a damn thing in that division. So I guess I really got to give kudos to everybody in his division because I didn't expect Tristan to have any fight whatsoever. No disrespect to Corey and Travis and Sean. The guy just has a Super Bowl, and the way our league has moved in the past, the guys that have been in Super Bowl positions, they have typically somehow, some way made the playoffs and gotten to the AFC Championship or NFC Championship, whatever it looks like. So I didn't expect it. So I'm interested to see how his game is next week. I'm interested to see how these playoffs break down, guys. That's really all I had. I will do I will do a playoff show as far as the playoff bracket breakdown. I want to do like a live Zoom deal that I did kind of in the past where it actually shows like trying to show you guys kind of what I'm looking at besides just a Madden screen, but to give a kind of a playoff breakdown of how I think the playoffs are going to break down and ultimately who's going to play in the Super Bowl. A lot of people think they're good enough to make it, and but hey, congratulations, you made the playoffs. But one thing I've learned about a few guys in this league, and a few that I've actually played with in other leagues, like Rome, for example, they are a different beast in the playoffs. Same thing with Marcus. I mean, it's going to be so interesting watching getting to the actual Super Bowl itself, and I'm either going to surprise some people with my picks, or I'm going to motivate some people with my picks. One of the two. But either way, that's all I got. I hope y'all enjoy your night, and I will talk to y'all soon.